Hi everyone, this is going to be a quick tutorial on all of the different types of unwanted noise that you may run into in recording and editing audio, or at least some of the most common issues, which include primarily um, general unwanted noise in the environment, ambient sounds, self-noise, so microphone or preamp self-noise, the equipment itself, um, which is related to this concept of the noise floor, which we'll discuss a little bit, clipping or distortion, and finally these little clicks or pops you sometimes will hear in the audio itself. So if you are recording something from scratch, there are a couple of factors that will play a role in the quality of the recording. These include the location that you're recording, so the ambient sounds of the environment, the recording equipment quality itself, and your mic placement and your levels, your essentially your use of the recording equipment itself. So the ambient environment, depending on what you're trying to record, if you're trying to record, for instance, certain types of natural sounds, you'll find that you may want to adjust if you're doing field recording outside, you may want to adjust the time of day that you record based on traffic levels, this sort of thing. You'll find that wind, for instance, is a tremendous issue in recording outside. Even if you're trying to record wind, this can create a lot of issues in your recording related to distortion clipping we'll talk about in a little bit. If you're recording inside, you're not necessarily safe from recording from ambient noises either. Of course, there's the hum of lights or hum of other electrical equipment. One of the biggest issues you'll sometimes come across in recording, especially if you're dealing with equipment that is not insulated well, is if you're near a radio tower, you can get radio interference in your recording, which is kind of a spooky experience in some ways. Or even the hum of electricity in certain contexts. So, so choosing the time and the location is going to be one of the first things if you're doing, if you're recording sound yourself to deal with. The next thing is choosing the equipment. So if you're using a cheap field recorder, you'll find that it's very difficult to get high quality recordings, especially of soft ambient sounds. And the reason for this is usually, it's twofold. I mean, if you're using the built-in microphones, they're usually decent but not amazing. And equally important, if not more so, is that in these little flash recorders, like the Zoom H4n, this sort of thing, their preamps tend not to be all that amazing. And basically what happens, with all of these little electrical components in a preamp, they all make noise. So what happens is essentially the lower quality or the more noise they make, the higher a noise floor you have. And that's you're probably familiar with the sound. It's the sort of hissing background noise that's unwanted, undesirable in a recording. And that can become a problem from either because of the recording equipment itself, or because of the way in which you use the recording equipment. The last noise issue that I want to address briefly is one of something a little bit different. It's a click that you'll hear. Now, you'll hear a click. Say I were to split this audio and just bring it over here. Now, you'll see when you zoom way in, Reaper, when you split a sound, automatically adds a little bit of a fade in. And that's because without any fade in, if you go from no sound to sound immediately, you will get a kind of ugly little clicking sound. Oh, hello. A little bit hard to hear in this context. Sometimes it's a lot worse, really. But it's abrupt. You don't want it. So Reaper will add in a little fade in for you, but you'll want to add in some of yourself. Another thing that can create that issue, I'm going to press P to show the panning. I'm going to press Command and drag to get the little bit of an envelope here. If I were to see how I'm sort of going automatically, very quickly, from right, 100% right to 100% left. Oh, hello. Oh, hello. You get this really, especially with headphones, this really abrupt clicking sound, and you will probably come across it at some point and you'll know exactly what I am talking about in your own work. So to avoid that, you would just have a smoother transition from left to right. So another situation where you will find it's important to include fades for a similar reason, avoiding these clicks, is if you're dragging sound on top of one another, you want a smooth transition. So thankfully Reaper kind of does that for you automatically. So yeah, so we've covered a lot. Basically, just to recap one more time, there are 4 common noise issues that I want you to be aware of when you're recording and processing sound, and also choosing sounds. So if you're choosing sounds from Freesound, you should take a look at the sound file to see if it meets these standards. So the first one is what are the background sounds like? Is there a lot of ambient sound that is apart from what you are trying to record? And the second item was the choice of recording equipment, using essentially the equipment with the best preamp you can find, and finding microphones that fit the context that you're trying to, for the sounds you're trying to record and the space you're trying to record in, and I'll talk more about microphones in a separate tutorial. And related to that, setting your levels appropriately. And finally, the clicks that can occur if you are editing sound and don't include fade ins or fade outs.